Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
It's a takeout, a lunch. Takeout for lunch.
You're a takeout lunch.
Okay.
Who is this clown?
You know, it's the worst insult.
Okay. It is. Let me briefly explain
Okay.
why this is my podcast. You can
Okay,
wait.
we're stopping
okay, no,
this.
wait. Why Who is this clown is the most devastating.
Come on, you can't crack yourself up while you're telling. A little bit of laughing's okay.
Sorry,
Too much
I
is.
started coughing. It's the most devastating insult of all time because it has a double meaning. Not only are you implying that the person you're talking about is a clown, a fool, if you will. The second stab is with the who is. Not only is this person
you're-
a clown, they're not even a well-known clown.
That was way too much explanation. Exclamation.
Exposition.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
For the background.
Welcome to Friday, everyone. Apparently, Jim's not in a good mood. I'm in a great mood.
I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Let's begin with the grievances.
Not only
mean.
am I a clown, I'm not even a well-known clown.
You're not.
There you go.
Why are you in a bad mood today? Let's
I'm
talk
fine
about
now.
it.
If you have grievances, and I'm sure you have.
Because there's a sinkhole in the yard. I could have, if my foot had gotten stuck in that, who knows? First of all, we have no idea how big that hole is.
Well, it's 2.5 feet down.
I've reported,
it.
well, it's 2.5 feet, only because okay, that's how far the broomstick.
Nobody cares about this.
Oh, they do.
What are your other complaints?
Well, I'm just saying, this could be our last podcast if the ground opens up and,
that's true.
you know.
Swallows us whole.
Yep.
What other complaints do you have today?
Oh, is this for grievances and all?
Yeah,
Complaints?
we're working backwards. All right. Okay, go ahead.
You would think, no, you live in Florida.
Sure.
You would think it would be very straightforward how to report what you're concerned about like that.
You know, Florida is the
It's
state that's most susceptible to sinkholes.
I do. I knew that. Yeah. But, you know, here's what actually frustrates me. Okay, first of all, you know, I'm using AI to find out how do I report this,
Of course
right?
you are.
But I probably could have called the police non-emergency line and they would have said, yeah, do this or whatever. But from what I can understand, since this hole, okay, just so everybody knows, it's only a few inches wide, 2 to 3 inches wide, but it's like 2.5 feet deep.
I said that already.
And well, my point is, it just, you said how deep it was, not how wide it was. But it may be wider just under the surface, right?
Sure.
It's just like right inside the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, right? Just inside the public sidewalk. But since it's inside the public sidewalk, it's technically my responsibility to do something with this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to hire someone. Okay, because people aren't going to hire somebody. They're probably just going to try to fill the hole themselves, which may be a bad idea. So if this is the last episode, everyone will know why. Our last episode will just be like, as we're falling into the sinkhole. The 2.5 inch by 2.5 foot sinkhole. Would you like to continue now? See, people can't see you just stare. They just hear silence. They don't know.
That's what I'm hearing right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Nothing interacting in my brain.
Go ahead. I have this map up showing the sinkholes in Florida. Go ahead. Continue. What's today's episode about?
No, this is Friday.
I know.
We all know. My complaint for today
Go ahead.
is, can you use... Man, I always try to think of a way to ask you without trying to tell you what I'm asking you. What's the difference between regime and regimen? Because for some reason...
Regime is they're
completely different. They're not even in the same atmosphere. And people, because there's
regime is
same,
like leadership. It's like the current administration is the regime.
Yeah, it's a form of government,
and
not a form of government.
And are you saying regimen or regiment?
Regimen. Oh, okay. Let's do all three. I didn't even think of that.
Regimen kind of like the I'm trying to think how to say this. The rules that we have to follow.
No.
A list of rules.
No.
The regimen that we have to abide by.
I mean, I guess you're not saying it incorrectly like that, but it's not a set of rules. It's more just like a regimen, like a schedule.
Oh,
that you
schedule.
like
yeah,
a
that's a
workout
better way to put it.
regimen.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So regime, we're talking about a government, and regimen, we're talking about like a schedule, like a
Right.
workout schedule.
Right.
When people confuse those two words, I'm like, what are we talking about?
Right.
A workout regime? What is that?
Do people
a
actually
government that only works out?
Well, yeah, and so maybe your complaint should be how a large portion of the population does not understand the English language.
I mean, that's always my
They have
complaint.
very
I
basic
think.
understanding.
But in general, I feel like with all of these grammar things, my main issue is like, obviously, I'm not expecting everybody in the world to know the complete English language dictionary. That's not what I'm asking here. What I am saying is, don't use words if you're not 100% of the meaning of it.
Right.
And people obviously are not. And I don't know, maybe they think they are. Maybe they're like, no, regime means regimen and vice versa. It's like, no, learn what words mean before you use them.
We've talked about all this kind of stuff before, like general grammar type things. But there's a lot of different things around it. And I know I brought this up before, but this week in particular, because I heard it a couple times from a couple high-ranking officials.
Oh, no.
People saying nuclear.
Ooh.
Oh, my God. I literally want to nuke the people that say nuclear.
We've already complained about this.
I know. This is just a quick complaint just to rehash this.
I wasn't finished.
Well, you can continue in a second. It's not spelled N-U-C-U or N-U-K-U-L-A-R, right? It's spelled N-U-C-L-E-A-R. That does not sound out, okay? Imagine you're in first grade. That does not sound anything like nuclear, okay? If you say nuclear, you sound like a complete idiot. So stop. Say the word the right way. Continue.
I think what's exciting for me about that is after a couple of years of us doing this podcast, you will have complained about that many times.
I will continue to complain until people say it right.
And they won't. So I, at some point, will be able to make an entire episode that is just clips of you complaining about the word nuclear.
Yeah, I might start a podcast just called The Nuclear Podcast.
Anyway.
And it won't be about anything to do with the nuclear industry. It'll be like, here's how you pronounce the word nuclear for the 1,000th time.
That would be really funny, actually. And I think you should probably do it.
I mean, maybe I should talk about that.
I think you should. It should be The Nuclear Podcast. And every single episode should just be you pronouncing the word nuclear, like a 30-second episode every day.
That's it. And it'll be episode 342. It'll be the same episode over and over again. And you know what? If it became really popular, that would be a very humbling experience.
No, it wouldn't. You complained about that.
I
you
know.
don't get to complain about it
Correct.
again. No, we don't.
It would not be a humbling
complain about things multiple times.
Okay, that'll be the other podcast that I create. I'm going to create 2 podcasts.
The people do not want to hear us
okay.
iterate things that we've already discussed.
Oh, people love hearing me complain.
Maybe. Then make your own podcast, because that's not what I want to hear right now. As you mentioned.
Go ahead. Your turn to complain.
No, it was my turn, and you hijacked my turn.
Continue.
So back to my turn, I think is what you meant to say.
I gave you another thing to complain about.
You brought up regiment.
Yeah.
What is a regiment?
It's like in a military sense, a group of, I don't know what
troops,
size of
great.
regiment. It's a group of troops. Yes.
Correct.
Which have to follow the same
regimen. And they work for whichever
a regime
of whichever country.
That's it. We did it.
Thank goodness that we're moving on to
This Week in History.
This Week in History.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone. We've finally arrived. In 1977, Chinese government removes ban on Shakespeare. What was their ban? Oh, because it doesn't fit the ideology. We should have an episode on China.
But specifically, why did they ban it? It doesn't say.
It just says that they plan to restore communist revolutionary commitment to Chinese society, which meant many bans on works of art that did not fit the ideology. That's all it says. We should do an episode on China.
Very interesting. Yeah.
I'm sure it won't air there.
Yeah.
1868. Senate acquits President Johnson of impeachment charges.
Oh, 1868.
1868. Johnson had been the second-term vice president for Abraham Lincoln. He assumed the presidency after Lincoln's assassination. I don't know. He tried to replace Secretary of War, which is hilarious that we used to have a Secretary of War.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing. It's just the Secretary of Defense now.
I know, but
They
just
changed the
war is
name.
aggressive and you know, defense is passive. It's like reactionary as opposed to
So we seem wimpy now.
no, we just don't seem aggressive. That's the issue. That's the issue here.
Hold on. No,
Nope,
war
wait, let me
doesn't.
finish
Calling
this
Secretary of War
sentence.
doesn't mean you're
Let
starting the
me
war. Go ahead.
Finish this sentence.
Go ahead.
I don't remember where I was now.
Okay, come on. You interrupted yourself.
No, and then you interrupted me. I'm allowed to interrupt myself. That's how that works. I do it all the time in my head. He tried to replace Stanton, who was the Secretary of War, with Ulysses S. Grant, who was more in line with his policies, whereupon the Republicans began the process of impeachment. That's it.
So don't you think we should only be able to have one president? Like each president should have to have a different last name. Because it gets confusing when you have multiple presidents that are named Johnson, multiple presidents that are named Bush.
I disagree.
I just feel like it should be an automatic thing. It should be part of the deal that, nope, there already was a Bush. You are no longer eligible to become president.
Moving on. 1937, Golden Gate Bridge opens. I don't care.
When was that?
1937. If just one
Wow,
of
that
these
was a long
times
time
you
ago.
could listen to the date.
No, I'm saying I actually am
Before-
listening, but I know the listeners aren't listening really, and so they want to hear
Then
it
why
again
am I even here?
so that you can repeat what you just said.
2016. Aw, no! 2016. Harambe, a 17-year-old gorilla at the Cincinnati Zoo, is killed after a child falls into his enclosure. Look, I have thoughts about this because this was this a big thing for you as an adult?
I remember this, and yeah, I know what
Because
you're talking about.
I wasn't, you only know
Well,
what
I
I'm
was
talking
dragging
about.
the kid around.
I was, okay, look, I was in college at the time,
Yeah.
and this was a huge thing for the millennials, okay?
Yeah,
Like my age group, because the prevailing belief among my age group was, because for those of you that maybe don't know this, so the child falls into this enclosure.
Right.
Did the child die? I don't even remember if the child died or not. Or if he was just
thinking-
seriously injured.
I'm thinking
I should
no.
read this. Hold on.
Read the rest of it, yeah, and then we'll comment.
No, he didn't die.
But he would have. But he could have.
Oh, gosh. Look, okay. All right. Look, he didn't. He didn't die.
Okay.
And what winds up happening is the staff at the zoo shoots Harambe.
Right.
And kills him pretty much, okay?
Right.
Because of this whole situation.
Right.
Why my group of people here are incensed about this is because the boy had to climb a 3-foot fence, go through 4 feet of bushes, and fall 15 feet to enter the enclosure.
How old was How old was he?
A 3-year-old. He's 3 years old.
Okay. Okay. That just to be clear, it
Just
wasn't
to be
like
clear,
some
it's not like he's 10 or
10-year-old
something.
just being an idiot.
Regardless, it's not like it was easy to get into this, okay? And there was plenty of time for supervision to interfere in what was going on, okay?
Parent or whoever
so
was not.
obviously I understand that the safety of a human in that case is going to, prevail and all that. Like I totally understand that.
Yeah.
However, for anybody that's suggesting that somehow the gorilla is in the wrong is like, okay,
No, the gorilla.
Imagine if someone like literally walked into your house and you're like, could you please leave? Could you get out? Because he was alone with the child for 10 to 15 minutes.
Right.
He didn't kill him. He was like defending his territory.
Right.
You know what I mean? So imagine someone walks into your house and you're like, could you please get out? I don't know you. I don't want you here.
Right.
For 10 to 15 minutes, you are asking someone to leave your house.
Right.
And they're not. And obviously I understand the 3-year-old boy like maybe didn't know how to get out or whatever.
Well, he didn't know what he was doing. I mean,
but I'm just
in all
saying,
fairness.
obviously I'm more angry at like obviously his parents or family or whoever had him, like what were they doing?
Right.
But then also like onlookers, there's no way nobody saw him
That's hard to
climbing
believe.
that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's video of him doing
Well,
it. Why instead of videoing did you not stop the child?
The other thing, and I'm sure they talked about this at the time, but I don't remember the details of it. Like, could they have just hit him with tranquilizer? Harambe, not
yes,
the kid.
right. Well,
Actually, if they saw the
eh,
kid going through, hit him with a tranquilizer before he could
yes,
fall off the cliff there or whatever.
yes.
Yeah, they should have tranquilized him. But no, I mean, I get it. I get why they wound up doing it because, and not that, like I said, he was just being a gorilla. He was doing what gorillas
what I
do. He
mean.
wasn't being like overtly aggressive or anything like that.
Who's
But he was
living.
like, he was pulling the kid through the water. I mean, I think, okay, it's pretty likely that the kid would have died, I think, right? If I had to take a guess, that's just my guess based on
Well,
what they saw. But I just wonder more, why couldn't they have like tranquilized?
why couldn't they have tranquilized? And I
Yeah.
think that's more the question. And the other main thing with this is Harambe became increasingly anxious and agitated because of the noises made by onlookers during the
Screaming,
incident,
yeah.
influencing the staff's decision to shoot the animal for the boy's safety.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we had kind of talked about this a little bit with when we were talking about Animal Kingdom, about zoos in general and all this stuff. And maybe that would be an interesting podcast topic to even do, just talk about, zoos and versus animal sanctuaries and stuff like that, because there are a lot of differences in like different animal places, and we'll stop talking about this now, but this was a huge thing. People felt very strongly about this.
I don't hold the staff responsible. Like, in other words, obviously they shot him, but I don't it was a bad situation.
Yes.
So I think you talk more about, okay, why would a 3-year-old kid on their own be able to somehow get themselves into that situation? So I would hold maybe the zoo responsible, or if the staff would somehow, somebody left something open or whatever, I would hold them responsible as far as that goes. But once the kid was in there, I don't hold them responsible, because I can't even imagine if they didn't do anything and the kid was killed.
Oh, yeah.
You would have had lawsuits. You would have had. I mean, first of all, if I'm them, I would have felt horrible.
Right.
Like, for the rest of my life, I would feel horrible. You know.
I mean, I would feel horrible though, being one of the people that was there, being the person that had to shoot him.
Well, I would feel
haunt
bad
me.
either way.
What do you mean?
But I would feel,
like,
but I would get over it though, because I would feel like I would feel like I took the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, I understand that.
You know what
but
I mean? It's not a good
Just
situation.
because you did the lesser of two evils doesn't mean that you would be able to sleep at night.
Yeah. Well, you had to take the two choices. That's all I'm saying.
At that point, yes.
Right.
But people are more frustrated that it's like, why was the kid unsupervised to the point where he could do that? And and then why was there the whole it's a whole thing.
I'm sure we're going to get comments on this.
There's plenty of stuff about this.
And you know what I'm wondering?
What?
As we're talking about this, where is that kid now?
I don't know.
Like, somebody had to track him down and just ask him about this and that.
I don't know. Just for reference, let's say you had taken us to a zoo when we were young, and if one of us had even tried to climb the outer part of an enclosure for any animal, what would you have done to any of us?
I would have just killed you right there on the spot.
I know. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no way.
There's no way.
You know, okay, between your mother and I, we pretty much always had our eyes on you guys, right? Like, we did not.
Parents.
Well, I'm just saying, especially when you were that young, I can't even imagine. I don't know. Like I said, you said it like 10 minutes or whatever. I can't even imagine how that could happen. But without going back and looking at the details, because I feel like the parents should have been held responsible too.
Should have. That's what people were saying. The mother was there. That's what I read, and they should have. Anyway, moving on. 1922, Supreme Court rules in favor of Major League Baseball that organized baseball did not violate antitrust laws as alleged by the Baltimore franchise of the defunct Federal League. They were in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act, which was enacted to limit monopolies in interstate commerce. So this is a monopoly thing.
And this is, and to me, that's a joke, because anybody that thinks that Major League Baseball or the NFL, they're clearly monopolies, right? They are monopolies. It's the definition of a monopoly.
Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, what a name, wrote that baseball did not constitute interstate commerce, despite the fact that its teams and players cross state lines in order to play. How do you even make that decision? That's hilarious.
Well, that's what I'm saying. To me,
moving on.
Sorry. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that professional sports players are paid so much money, right?
Oh, right.
Is because you have this monopoly, which means they limit the number of teams. I mean, it's
Yeah, part of the reason that Juan Soto somehow became the highest paid athlete of all time.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Well, come on.
insane.
Hey, he gives 90% every day. So what do you
That's
want?
hilarious. Yeah, let's back up to complaints. That's my complaint is that video from last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever of him thinking that they're in Boston, him thinking that he hit a home run and literally staring at the ball and trying to be dramatic. And he got a single off of it.
Yep.
When he easily could have been a stand-up double. Easily. At least. Oh, man. God hate him.
And the thing is, in all fairness, he's not the only one. Okay.
No, but
He's
when
not
you're
the
the
only
highest
one.
paid
Well,
athlete in sports history,
Right.
I expect a little bit more from you. Sorry.
Yep.
A little bit more effort, just a little bit more. 1971, Mariner 9 departs for Mars. Do you remember this?
I mean, I remember it. I don't remember the details of it.
Okay.
What was the year again? 1971?
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that long ago. Wow.
1859. 1859. Big Ben goes into operation in London.
Why did I think it was older than that?
Right?
Yeah.
I guess not. Well, those are our history things for this week. Moving on to
Listener feedback. Yeah.
listener feedback. That is Correctamundo. What do we have for listener feedback? Where are we?
Did you check all of the different?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
That I know of. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. We don't have any voicemails yet, which is disappointing. Right. I would like to hear.
I know, we don't even know if
a
it
couple
works
of
yet.
voicemails.
Yeah.
We should have tested it, actually. You should have called that number to make sure.
The community bulletin board at Publix. You can also leave comments there.
Anyway, someone responded to our tariffs and international trade episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I hate tariffs. We're the ones that see the downside, either from paying extra or having fewer choices if foreign products become unavailable. I think if we had a free market in the U.S., then China wouldn't be better at making better products at a lower cost, like is the case now.
I mean, my comment on that is, okay, in general, I agree completely with the concept of free trade. But it's a lot easier to have free trade within the country than it is with other countries, because obviously every other country has completely different regulations.
Right.
So if you...
And completely different comparative advantages, as we
Exactly.
discussed.
Well, like in the U.S., if we have regulations that limit the amount of CO2 that a company can output, right?
Yes.
And so these factories have to run off more expensive, say, partly renewable energy or whatever, that's going to raise the cost. So if you just completely ignore that, then China immediately has an advantage right there, right? We have child labor laws. If you say, well, you don't have to worry about that, you can have kids start working as young as 10 years old, then that's another advantage they have. So, I mean, I would only agree, or I would only, I guess, agree with tariffs in the sense that they were created to offset those type things, right? Because you're not going to...
I still don't disagree, or I
you're
still
not
don't
gonna
agree
force
with that viewpoint.
But you understand what I'm saying? You're not going to force China...
I understand what you're saying.
You're not just going to say, well, we don't like this, so, we're not going to do it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you make a rule that says we get to inspect your factory, and if you are doing this, or this, then we're not going to buy from you. I mean, they could do it that way too, which would be fine.
What you're suggesting is that it's a means of leveling the playing field.
Yeah, that's all.
And I think you can view it from that lens, but it's definitely not as simple as just saying that. So I disagree. I mean,
I think it's I agree. It's not simple. I mean, it's complicated,
Moving
to do
on.
it. But if you do that, the problem is everybody's iPhone's going to cost maybe $100 more, maybe $200 more. I don't know. And are people willing to go along with that? Everybody's great with. We want, I don't know, clean food, clean water, whatever. Clean food. That sounds weird.
Until we have to pay more for it, and then we're not. That's how America works.
Well, but there has to be a there's a balance. There's a balance, If you said, for $1,000, I could give you probably the cleanest drinking water you ever wanted in your life, right?
Nobody wants
per
it.
gallon.
Okay.
That's it.
This is a comment from our guest episode with Eric on the Disney rides and all of that. And this is in all caps, so I will treat it as such.
You're going to scream.
How are you not putting Flight of Passage in top 5? That ride is revolutionary. And I agree. I completely agree.
I mean, I like Flight
I
of Passage.
tried to get it into the top 5 and you guys didn't
What were
want
the
it.
other? What was our? Do you remember what the top 5 was?
No.
I mean, I remember. Okay, first of all, I'm not going to put it ahead of Spaceship Earth, and the reason I'm not going to do that is a thrill ride is cool. Any thrill ride is cool, and don't get me wrong, Flight of Passage it's more than maybe like a roller coaster is strictly a thrill ride. So Flight of Passage is different than that in a certain way, but I don't know. I just like after you go on it a couple times, I feel like it loses some of its, like what I was going to say is if we had the top 6, that there's a good chance that would be in the top 6.
Someone responded and said, Soarin' did it first. I do think it's incredible, but the effect has worn off for me a bit, whereas the other rides haven't. And I think that's a valid point, that it's a similar structure, obviously, and all of that.
Yeah.
But comparatively, there's just not, it's too good of a ride.
It is good. And the way the thing breathes as you're
the details,
riding on it.
I completely disagree with all of you. But
so anyone, if they haven't gone on that ride, you definitely should.
No, that's it.
Okay.
It's really weird ending with listener feedback. It's too positive. I feel like
I know.
We need to end on a negative note.
Okay.
Do you have any more grievances? I'll put the grievances.
I'm going to go out and check the sinkhole to see if...
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that already.
See, the thing, is this bad that I think, well, if the sidewalk starts to cave in, then it's going to be their
Free
problem.
Sidewalk.
Well, that's going to be their problem. Maybe it's under the sidewalk and now came out. The hole's not going to open up in the middle of the sidewalk.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see you next week. Maybe we won't.
I'm hungry.
You just eat lunch?
I didn't eat enough.
Okay.
Welcome to Friday, everyone.
How was your week?
That's great. Again, another quick week.
Another quick week.
Because today is obviously, we record this the day before Friday, right?
Why do you always have to make it weird? You could just not say anything.
I'm just saying, so it's the day.
It's live.
Well, they have to. It's the day before Friday.
That's a lie.
Tomorrow is Friday, which is today now, right? Today is Friday.
It's like the Billy Joel song.
So tomorrow is
today.
Tomorrow is
today.
No, today. No.
You know that song?
Just work with me here. Today is Friday. So tomorrow is
Saturday.
That's right. The day after Friday. The day after that.
This is a great song.
We're gonna get a copyright strike.
Oh, you're right.
Stop.
Okay, fine. You're right. You should all listen. I just stopped it. You should all listen to the song "Tomorrow Is Today" by Billy Joel.
Okay, see,
I tear up a
that's
little
where we
bit,
are.
but it's a great, great
Almost
song.
all Billy Joel songs are like
I know
that,
we talk
right?
about him too much.